lesson number 5 is going to be brought to us by Mr. Van Bowers and Dr. Thomas Rivers. It's a speed double date.
All right, so as I said, takes 2 of us to handle this lesson, and this is an important lesson about how we communicate with students. When our instructional model had to change abruptly in March, it was important that we made sure that we were getting information from the field, and so through a series of surveys and focus groups, we developed 3 growth areas, and these were that we need to emphasize the importance of constant personal communication with our students. That is so important to make sure that we're communicating regularly and making sure that we're keeping them in the instructional family, in the school family. Also, we know that we need to develop watch list of educationally and emotionally and physically at-risk students. And we certainly have been able to do that through our RTI and mental health teams, as well as our district dashboard. Yeah, thank you, Thomas. Sorry about that. Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. And also, we felt it was extremely important that we maintain regular check-ins with our students through teachers having office hours or designated times in the day where they were touching base with our students. So as we think through this and we develop some action steps that we are certainly carrying on today, we were able to take advantage of leap days in August, and these were 5 days that the state allowed us to bring in students early. And this was very important. These were very important days where we brought the students in and we addressed their social emotional learning needs. It's just to get to know you again. You haven't been in school for several months, and this is the way we do school. So we had to talk about new procedures, new safety procedures, and also wearing masks. And we also took advantage of some of that time to do some instructional benchmark assessments that the state requires of us. So we really had a great opportunity to bring those kids early. Also, we're able to feed them breakfast, lunch, and provide transportation for them. So I just want to give a shout out to all of those departments who came together in a collaborative manner to really make that happen, because that was a huge undertaking. Also, during this time, we were able to get a jump start on some of our IEP and 504 meetings to develop instructional plans for our students. And also, another thing that we're very proud of in our schools is that schools have protected times in their schedules where we address social and emotional learning of students. This comes about through morning meetings, through crew time, through advocacy groups. It's different in certain schools, but we have designated times where you know, we can spend with students addressing social and emotional needs. Our principals did a wonderful job in their communications with students and families over the summer. They really learned a lot about how to use social media and communicate with their families and students. Many of them made special videos that they sent out to their students, and the kids really enjoyed seeing those videos. Teachers, the same. Lots of school messenger notices and emails and phone calls, and in many cases, personal visits. I know that I myself even took several personal visits to deliver packets and meals, and again, it was just a real collaborative effort to do that. And speaking of meals, I can't say enough about our food service folks, our bus drivers, once again, for the feeding sites that were set up throughout the summer. And not only did that do a wonderful service in making sure kids had something to eat, but it also gave us the opportunity to do that check-in with kids, and they get to see their teacher and their principal and just folks that they haven't seen in a long time, and that was certainly very productive. So Dr. Rivers? Okay, grab the mic. All right.
Okay. We're going to continue with the action steps under lesson 5, and the next one, if you recall, when we went out in March, our principal and teachers created videos and parades, and we continue that throughout the summer. Just make sure we had constant interaction with our students. There was a positive time for students and teachers to engage in those type of things, to connect and communicate with our population that was out there. The next one is kind of key part now, where we are with things and students coming back to school. That we work with IT to identify families that need hotspots for internet services. Of course, when we left in March, many of our students, especially elementary schools, they needed paper packets. And so a lot of families and students did not have the connectivity. And so to increase that communication, we now have hotspots available to all of our families. So everyone is one-to-one. And so even those students who are in Lula, those students who are in hybrid, they have a device in their hands, and with the assistance of a hotspot, they can connect with families and they can connect with teachers constantly. So that communication is ongoing with our students and staff. School principals met regularly with staff to make preparation for re-entry. Zoom is kind of our friend now. So we learned more about Zoom over the summer, just like the entire nation. And so summer planning began with principals talking with teachers, meeting with administrators, getting ready for the school year. So they communicate just as much as teachers are now communicating with students, just to get ready for that reentry and those reentry plans.
Dr. Rivers, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Can we go back to hotspots?
Sure.
I know each hotspot has a cost, and how are we funding that? Are we funding that with CARES Act money as well?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
CARES Act funding has helped us out tremendously with
Okay.
hotspots for our families and for
what, do you
the
know what
students.
provider we primarily use for those hotspots?
I don't have the information, Mrs. Salters, do you? Okay.
I knew and I can't remember, but I can get that for
Well,
you.
I just was curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew there was a cost associated. I just was curious about that. Thank
Okay,
you.
sounds good. We'll get that information for you.
And I think during Dr. Talley's report, she said the CARES Act covers it through December, but in the spring, we're on the hook for it. So, and we haven't deployed all 600 spots or whatever the number was,
Right.
so,
But we are hoping to get more funding.
right, yeah.
Okay, thank you. The next piece, school mental health wellness teams, and you hear more about that with Mr. Pender coming up, but those teams are essential to us identifying students who are experiencing trauma in their homes or just having some difficulties. And so teams at school come together and they meet administrators, psychologists, school counselors. They gather and try to identify students who need help, whether it's emotional needs or academic issues, and that mental health wellness teams allow us to connect with those students who are experiencing difficulties at home. On our e-learning days, and we love those Fridays right now, that's a great time for teachers to connect with students for virtual office hours. And so those are essential as a way to meet with students who are having some difficulty at home academically in their classes. So students are able to communicate with teachers, set up a time to meet with them virtually through Zoom, and they coordinate their schedule so they can kind of help those students. The next piece, school counseling departments conduct check-ins, and so you will constantly see surveys coming out for school counselors to parents and families to see how things are going at home. And so if there are some emergencies or some things that were brought to our attention, they can complete the survey, and that goes back to the counselors so they can do some check-ins. So those are some things that we've done with this, where we are now with these action steps to get ready for and have that smooth transition back into school. So lessons learned since coming out in March, we've kind of moved forward. And so what we conclude is that communication is the key to keeping everyone informed and ensuring parents and students feel supported and connected to the school family. And so we can't stress that enough. We have to stay in constant contact with our families, with our students, to check on their mental well-being and social and emotional support so that they are and feel connected to us even when they're at home and they're not in school full time. So the more we communicate, the better off we are as a school district working with our families and students. Any questions you have, Mina?
And Dr. Rivers, I'd ask
Yeah.
we also maintain a focus on our children's physical health. Specifically, Sheriff Kuhn lamented a little bit, when school went out in March, we become a very important safety net for a lot of the children in our district and making sure that they're safe at home. So
Right.
as we engage them at home, I want to make sure that that stays top of mind as well.
Certainly, certainly. Good point.
I do want to say Verizon is our provider.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Rivers.